For 7 years, you skip the expensive restaurant dinners, you drive an older car, and you pass on weekend trips to fund your investments. After nearly a decade of continuous sacrifice, you check your balance and find roughly $60,000. When you compare that $60,000 to a $1 million retirement target, the progress feels insignificant. This frustration stems from biological evolution. The human brain tracks linear progress, like walking a mile and watching the distance change. Early-stage exponential growth moves so slowly that it often registers as failure. Vanguard data shows the median American 401k balance is roughly $38,000. This reflects a reality where many savers hit a psychological wall and abandon their accounts long before the market starts doing the heavy lifting. Consider the classic lily pad riddle. A lily pad doubles in size every day, covering the entire pond on day 30. On which day was the pond half covered? The pond was half covered on day 29. Just one day earlier, on day 28, the pond was only a quarter full, making the growth look like a rounding error for nearly the entire month. Our brains evolved to track physical, linear movement. We have no biological mechanism to help us visualize the flat, nearly invisible phase that mathematically precedes every explosion of wealth. Investors often quit on day 28. They walk away just as the flat years end, exactly when the math is positioned to begin its steepest climb. The S&P 500 has served as the engine of this growth for nearly a century. Since 1928, the index has returned an average of roughly 10% per year when dividends are reinvested. The Rule of 72 provides a mathematical shortcut for this growth. By dividing 72 by that 10% return, we see that an investment doubles roughly every 7.2 years. An $80,000 balance becomes $160,000 in 7 years. In another 7, it reaches $320,000, then $640,000. That final doubling to $1.28 million adds more raw wealth than the previous 3 doublings combined. These returns arrive in unpredictable lumps. You will face negative decades, flat periods, and the steady erosion of inflation, which historically pulls real purchasing power growth down to about 6.8%. History includes catastrophic collapses like the Great Depression. However, every major crash has eventually been erased by subsequent market doublings. Panic during the lost decade and the 2008 financial crisis pushed millions of investors to sell at the bottom. They exited the market right before a massive 15% annualized rebound took hold between 2009 and 2019. Reaching the late-stage wealth explosion requires the psychological stomach to stay fully invested through these terrifying dips. The first 10 years of investing represent the invisible decade. During this phase, your paycheck contributions perform all the heavy lifting, while the market appears to do nothing. Popular internet advice claims that compounding takes off once a portfolio reaches $100,000, but the math tells a different story. At a $100,000 balance, a 10% return creates a $10,000 gain. A typical saver with an employer match contributes roughly $20,000 a year. Your physical labor is still providing double the growth of your investments. True acceleration requires a significantly larger financial base before the market's capital can finally outpace your own labor. The real crossover point generally occurs between $250,000 and $350,000. At $300,000, a 10% return generates $30,000 a year, finally dwarfing a standard $20,000 annual contribution. This threshold marks the moment the market becomes the senior partner in your wealth, and compounding officially catches fire. Margaret is 45 years old with $80,000 saved. She looks at her balance and assumes she missed her shot at financial freedom. Her linear brain focuses on the $920,000 gap between her current account and $1 million goal. To win this game, you must stop counting dollars and start counting doublings. Margaret is 4 doublings away from $1.28 million. Her $80,000 becomes $160,000, then $320,000, then $640,000, and crosses the target on the 4th jump. That $80,000 balance functions as the required foundation. Without it, those massive late-stage wealth explosions are mathematically impossible. As your base grows, you need fewer doublings to reach your ultimate goal. Look at your current retirement balance and calculate the number of 7-year doublings remaining between you and your target. Reaching those final jumps requires you to protect your portfolio and avoid the temptation to quit during the boring, flat years. Achieving exponential wealth requires treating the invisible decade as a countdown and refusing to let your linear brain pull the plug.